We want to break it down, and that's what we would actually be doing now. When we talk about blockchain, technology, when we talk about blockchain technology, let us look at it from a different perspective. We already have what we call centralized system, and this centralized system has its before. In order for us to understand what this technology is all about, So in order for us to understand what this technology is all about, we need to underscore certain factors about why this technology is unique. Remember, the subject of this presentation is the benefit of blockchain technology to the African community. One thing is clear, that the world has come to adopt this technology because why? It is actually secure, it is transparent, and it is immutable. What that means simply is that whatever data or transaction that pass through this particular network cannot be hacked. What that means is that it can be trusted. Blockchain technology stores not only financial data, we can also tokenize or actually pass real estate assets through the blockchain. We can also pass land registry through the blockchain. For government institutions, take for example like shipping, like NAFDAC, they can also pass their record through the blockchain. So it means that the world is gradually evolving into a decentralized data whereby one single point is not the entry for it to fail. In order for us to understand this, let's use a simple scenario, and that has to do with an individual who have an account in two banks. If I have an account in Beckley's Bank and I have an account in Nigerian Bank, and I actually do a transfer, there is a single authority in between, which is the central bank, that ensures that that particular transaction is confirmed. What that means is that the central bank have authority of transactions that happen. But in the case of blockchain, we are saying that no one entity actually controls transaction. And that is why I can be able to send transaction from my wallet, and that particular transaction gets confirmed in another wallet without a particular individual. That simply means that that information is actually transferred in all the nodes that are available, which are computer, having one single copy of that information. This technology has revolutionized a whole lot of things. But the point is this: blockchain and traditional system, which should we actually embrace, especially within the African space? The fact is that there is so much need for blockchain to be adopted in Africa. But the question is, how are you contributing to seeing that this particular technology is actually embraced? We are going to find out how Big Magnet International Group is contributing to the African space based on the video that you just watched. The blockchain aspect is huge. So we have decided to take a little part in this application. And that has to do with consumer loyalty. We are not talking about real estate. We are only talking about what? Consumer loyalty. So it means that the blockchain technology can be applied to every traditional system that exists today. If we can look at the principle of what we call the token economics. This token economics will go a long way in seeing to it that this particular technology is embraced. But why is blockchain technology globally accepted? Why is it that every institution is now talking about this particular technology at this time? If you look at the report from PwC, there's a projection that this technology will boost global gross domestic product by 1.76 trillion over the next decade. That simply means that everyone is interested in cashing out on what boost that this technology application can do. 1.76 trillion. And of course, it is actually what's happening. It is actually going to impact the global economy, because if institutions and organizations apply this, it's going to help raise new organizations. If you go to the New York Stock Exchange and look at companies and organizations that have applied this technology, some of them you don't even know them by their name, but because they are actually providing solutions using this technology, they are actually coming to the limelight. Next slide. Like I said, these are some of the global players of this particular technology. We have some of them in the fintech space, we have some of them in the e-commerce, we have some of them in the digital media, even in journalism. You can also apply this particular technology. Now, companies like PayPal, Tesla, Facebook, these are organizations that started their business model without this technology. But now they are seeing where it is going, and they are agile in terms of their application. They are now beginning to integrate it, because the world is going towards that angle. So if you are here present, the question is your business model agile? How have you been able to evolve your business to be able to accept this particular technology? The percentage of companies that have already implemented blockchain technology is largest in the consumer products and manufacturing. We have also seen that companies in the pharmaceutical and medical device production have also taken a second place in the application of this particular technology. Companies like Bitmax, Spring Lab, Salt Lending, Mythical Games, Circle, Coinbase, all these are new emerging organizations that if you look at their market capitalization and the coin market cap is amazing to what they have done. What have they applied? They have been able to take their traditional business into the global marketplace. And some of these businesses are not even in the stock market. But they've been able to decentralize their operation, that you and I can have a share of that business even though that particular business is not in the stock exchange. What have they done? They've been able to take what happened in their business, tokenize it, and project it to the world. And you are able to buy into this particular token and share from it. Next slide. What is the value of blockchain technology? The value is enormous. Before now, if you are in Africa, you want to send money to the US, the fact is that you need to leave 4 or 5 days, because when you go to the bank and do a transfer, before it gets there, they tell you they want to use NIFT. It takes period, it takes a longer time for the other party to actually get the transfer. But one key thing about the African market, and that's why we are here today, is that the African market is very, very viable. Why? Because Nigeria has actually top second list in terms of individual or a company that is actually making use of the blockchain in terms of financial transaction. But there is something interesting about this particular technology. It's a technology of the youth, and that is why the youth market is very, very pivotal. So the cost of cross-border payment can be harnessed with this particular technology application. So we don't have to wait for days in order for transactions to be confirmed. What is the impact of blockchain technology? The fact is very clear. And that is why we are present, and with what Leaders Without Borders is planning, we want to expose the benefit of what this can do. And Leaders Without Borders have already started that particular process by actually introducing East Reloadable gift cards. We are saying that with blockchain, we would actually improve economic activity, reduce cost and time associated with intermediaries, and strengthen trust in an ecosystem, especially in Africa. Sometimes, when you say your business is in Nigeria, or you say your business is in Ghana, the first thing that comes to mind is lack of trust. Blockchain is going to solve this because it's going to promote trust. You will no longer look at businesses based on individual or place. Rather, you will look at businesses based on the technology that runs it. Because you trust the technology that cannot be manipulated, then you can actually do business. And that is why we are saying Africa needs this, because there's a lot of trust issue that needs to be corrected. Next slide, please. Now, why is this technology important? The fact is this: in the world today, 5% of world's population is using blockchain, while 50% are actually using the internet. So blockchain is eventually going to evolve into the internet 2.3. What that means is that if we become active players, we would actually get our share. That means we need to look inward and see how we can begin to apply the use of this particular technology. Next slide. Why are companies interested in this? Please look at this projection. By 2022, at least one innovative business built on blockchain technology will be worth $10 billion. And by 2026, the business value added by blockchain will grow to just over $360 billion. And then by 2030, it will grow by 3.1 trillion. Dubai, UAE are very smart. And that is why they are already applying this technology in their approach. We are saying, does Africa need this? Yes. And the organization that is actually applying this particular technology, what they do to promote trust and transparency? Of course, the answer is yes. Why the need for blockchain technology adoption in Africa? The truth is this: the African continent is a youthful continent. What that means is that because it is youthful, the economy will grow, the population will grow, the youth market is hungry, and they want things that are trending. And that is why businesses should begin to look at coming into the African space to be able to take advantage of the youthfulness of the continent. Another strong strength of Africa is the population. Take for example, in Nigeria. The point is this: over 200 million people are in Nigeria, and everybody wants to cash into this particular number. What it means is that if you are able to provide a solution that can actually solve the needs in Africa, applying blockchain technology, there is a huge market for you. One other untapped area in Africa is the natural resources that is in abundance. The truth is this: these natural resources have not been tokenized, it has not been accounted for. It is the reason for so much war and battle that is happening. But solutions that is built for trust, for accountability, to tokenize these particular resources will go a long way to boost the economy of the African continent. What about corruption? If we want to leapfrog the issue of corruption, let us begin to apply blockchain in its application. One of the key issues or area that is always creating alarm is the electoral system. The fact is that manipulation of election can also be done using the blockchain. For those in the educational space, literacy is key. So that means there is need for continuous education. This technology requires skill, and this skill can be harnessed in Africa. Cross-border payment is an issue. Blockchain can be able to handle that. And Big Magnet International Group have also been working hard to see to it that this is actually what addressed. One other thing that Africans are interested in is because the currency or the fiat system is deemed devalued. What it means is that the people no longer trust fiat system and they want alternative that will protect their economy. Now, I always give this illustration. 9 years ago in Nigeria, 2,000 naira kept in the bank today will buy a pack of water. But 2,000 naira 9 years ago used to acquire Bitcoin today is worth about $4 million. The question is, where will you keep your assets? That shows that many in Africa, especially the youth market, are no longer trusting the fiat system. And that is why they've gone out to do what? To find alternative. This alternative is somehow challenging because this youth market wants something to do. Next slide. As of when this particular slide was done, the cryptocurrency market was worth about $2.4 trillion according to CoinMarketCap. That will tell you that there are a lot of companies that are already carrying into this. When Tesla, when PayPal, when Facebook begin to talk about this, we all now begin to know that there is something that's in there. But when the technology started, the fact is that many never knew it will evolve to this particular capacity. But education is key. That is why we need active players to come into this space so that we can educate and help this particular world system. Next slide. In Africa, there are already existing organizations that are doing so well, applying this technology in various areas. Take for example the GILEAD ledger. This actually is solving the issue of farmers being able to move and track their farm produce from point A to the point where it's actually sold. Track and traced through the ledger in the blockchain, which is the GILEAD ledger. Bitland is also a Ghanaian startup that uses blockchain technology to improve the land registration process by making it more secure. In Africa, we may not be able to track who gave that land or who owns that land. And once you sell that land, you cannot be able to have a record of that. We are saying that blockchain, when governments begin to look at how they can apply this in land registry, we can fight and protect the conflict of wars of who owns the land. Because once that is actually on the blockchain, it cannot actually be altered. BitPesa, Twin Food, BitHub, Bitcoin Africa, NigerX, which is Luno, all of these are now coming on board. Challenger banks are now coming on board, applying what this technology. For government representatives who are here present, the point is that sometimes they are afraid because they did not come in at the right time, they do not have the right knowledge, and the youths are those who are in control of this. But what can the government do? They just need to study this particular technology and see how they can apply it. Raise men from your country to know more about this particular application. But like I said, we're going to show you in a simple way how Big Magnet International Group have used blockchain to support consumer loyalty because it's important for the economy. Next slide. Many of us who are here present are buying things from different stores. Some of us have got gift cards, some of us have got points, but these points that you have, you can only spend it in a particular location. The fact is this, there is much more. We have decided to lead the way in Africa to focus on consumer loyalty, to revolutionize the process. Like I said, it's just a small niche. And what have we done? In simple terms, Big Magnet International Group contribution is focused on consumer loyalty application. In the last 5 years, we have scaled and we have developed an ecosystem that supports this. If you look at the chart, at the center of it is the BM token, which is the Big Magnet token, which is linked to all this entire ecosystem. You can see Big Healthcare, you can see Big Estate, you can see Simple Merchant, Mob Games, Laundry Mart, CC Box, Gima 360. You can also see Leaders Without Borders and Libago. What does this actually denote? We have cast our mind 9 years ago. Imagine you were here 9 years and there was a company that said to our ladies, if you use our sanitary pad, we would actually want to incentivize you with little Satoshi. I want to ask the audience this question. What would be the fate of ladies who have been accumulating Bitcoin in Satoshi in the last 10 years for using a sanitary pad? What would be their financial status?
400 million.
It's amazing. But there was no company that did that. But you have been having what? Cashbacks. So Big Magna International Group have developed its own sanitary pad for ladies called CC Box. CC Box and another sanitary pad that is amazing. But our focus is how can we get women to be part of this digital inclusion. So we are saying to every woman, switch to use CC Box and we would incentivize you with BM token. Over the course of time, that token that you are earning for free can also be tradable and that becomes value for you. Did you buy it? You earned it because you used our products. Instead of giving you points, we gave you consumer loyalty. Another aspect which we developed was Vibago, because everybody eats food. So we have our own food line because every time you eat Indomie, so local food can actually be tokenized. So we are saying if you actually buy our food, you will also get our token. So consumer loyalty is being applied in this regard. Next slide. Traditional consumer loyalty as a problem because of BM token solution. The truth is this: if I go to ShopRite, if I go to McDonald's, and then I'm given an option. If you buy something here, we're going to give you points. And you go to another hotel and say, if you buy something from this hotel, we're going to give you what? A crypto token. The question is, which will you take? Points or digital assets? Which will you? Of course you take digital assets because you earn it for free. And then you can be able to what? Monetize that particular value. And that's exactly what we are saying. Next slide. For this to be possible, we have developed what we call simple merchant. Today, we're actually going to be unveiling this reloadable card. This card is unique because it does two things. The first is that it actually supports cashback. And the second is that it supports discount. This is an application that we want to bring African inclusion. That every business, wherever you are, anywhere in the world, you want customers. We are saying we're going to make that customer come to you. But we say, give us a discount to offer to our community. But that discount you are giving to us, we're actually going to tokenize it. That discount can come into two ways. One is that it's a cashback that can only be spent in your business. And the other is that a percentage of that discount is converted into our token. That way, we have gradually begun to get individuals to migrate into the blockchain. Next slide. So, for those of us who are present, Leaders Without Borders have gone ahead because they are the frontiers to open up the African market. As we speak today, we're actually going to be introducing the Leaders Without Borders reloadable gift card as a way to open up the African market. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, can we encourage the management team of Leaders Without Borders? Can we encourage them? This shows that we need to be practical and pragmatic in terms of our application. So what we are saying to you is that for whatever subscription that's actually going to be happening with this card, you can use this cashback to make other payments within the Leaders Without Borders trainings, conferences. And also, with this card, across the network, with country directors in different parts of the world, they would actually be negotiating with local businesses to recognize this card, so that we can attract customers to them. So when I have this card, I should be able to go to these businesses and get cashback or discount. So you see, we're already bridging the gap. Because if I'm in Ghana and we have a Ghana merchant and I actually use this card in Ghana, I will actually have the token and then we'll actually bridge the cross-border payment. So today, we're actually going to be issuing this particular card to 4 individuals from Leaders Without Borders, and thereafter, it can be opened to every other participant who is here present. Next slide. What we can do to support this technology in Africa. The first is partner with managed group through single merchants. So wherever country you are, if you have businesses, you can collaborate with us. We can set your business as a merchant, and then we will attract the African market to your business. Nigeria is everywhere. Africa is everywhere. You can be able to take advantage of that. Become a merchant that accepts single merchant with a little gift card, offer good cashback and discounts, and then become a card holder. And that's all. And before you know what's happening, we will hold the African continent into one pool that is accessible to all, making it easy to do business in Africa. Next slide. What are the challenges? I want to emphasize on education and training. This technology comes with a lot of jankos, so we need individuals who can be trained. So there's a call to action for educators to begin to look at this space, because the youth market is very much interested, and that's the next frontier for the next world industrial revolution. Next slide. What's the call to action? Having said this about the tokenization process, there is this opportunity to say that individuals who want to participate, to hold this particular token, there's 100,000 units that is actually going to be on a private sale for $25, which is going to be distributed within 24 months. 30, 20, 10, 40, every 6 months. What this means is that you will be among those who are the foundational anchor of this particular token. This token supports real estate. This token supports e-commerce. This token supports sanitary pad and many more. Next slide. Next slide. For us to take this to the next level, we want to meet at the D room. Partnership, integration, investment. There is much more that this technology will be able to do. If we put us together, we'll continue to match technology with innovation. Thank you very much.
Education or early understanding of the dynamics of the digital currency. But just Nigeria took a ban on that, and recently we are talking about China. So what is your organization or your group doing to make this thing imperative? Because when these things are banned in your country, the youth engagement in that is going to look somewhat difficult. I just want to know your approach to see how we can handle that for the betterment of the youth population in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And they are already embracing it. Now, if we look at the application of blockchain, what we have done is to focus on the use of the technology as a utility. What that means is that loyalty has been in existence for decades of years. And that is why if you go to any shop here, some of them will say, if you buy 2 times, or go to a hotel, when you buy 2 times, they give you 1 free. Or some will give you a card that you can use to come back to that same place to do what to spend. Like I said, we have just explored that. We have just taken that particular system that runs on a centralized system into the blockchain. So instead of giving you points, I'm giving you token that is on the blockchain. So that whatever token you have, you can trace it, you can monitor it, you can manage it. Nobody can tell you that one day the token does not exist again. And that's exactly what we've actually done. So in places whereby the government is putting a ban, yes, take for example in Nigeria, we initiated a meeting with the legislator in Nigeria when they actually did that particular ban. What they said was that they needed to use that to track money laundering, because there was so much money that was coming in from the youths, and for that reason they need to actually put a hold. And they said, well, not that they are saying that the currency or the technology is bad, but the point there is that the financial system, which is the banks, they do not want them to deal with this particular youth. So that means that if you have an account with the traditional financial system, by virtue of the CBN charter, they are telling the bank, which is the institution within their purview, that do not And that is where they are coming from. But can Central Bank of Nigeria, when they made that particular thing, stop the issue of the transactions, that individual cannot send Bitcoin from one wallet to the next? You cannot stop that. Because from one wallet to the next, you can actually do that. So we'll keep on sensitizing and keep on creating education. But we should look at more practical use cases. Take for example, in the next 8 months, we want to do something else that the government will also recognize. These are ways of our contribution. What are we looking at? Digitalization of education. That verification and data can actually be done on the blockchain, whereby if you want to identify a core professional, you can trace and track that person on the blockchain. The government will not say no to that. If you say to the government that, look, we are offering you a voting system whereby voting can actually run on the blockchain for transparency, good government who want transparency will accept. But those who want to rig election, they will not accept it. But that is an application of the technology. Customs is also applying the technology, because to be able to track shipment from a particular point to the next, the government is not actually saying that the technology is bad or the application is bad. But what they are not comfortable about is cryptocurrency and the way it is actually being used. But today, so many other KYC principles and policies have been put in place. Take for example, Luno, that is a wallet exchange. They are kind of KYC, even the bank don't even have it. So if to checkmate money laundering is all about know your customer, have a digital identification number, and all of these are put in place, then the government have no cause to be afraid. But for many who do not want to push this technology because of its dynamics, we cannot help but continue to do education. Yes.
Helping the youth, especially the SMEs, to find a way, because they are the builder of the nation. And each government needs the youth. Thank you for highlighting that. It's fantastic. But we come back to cryptocurrency and to blockchain and the token. You think that Africa is really prepared for that? The central bank will accept that, because we've been dealing with the Lumi. You know about it. I'm sure you heard about it. And also something called Slowly. Until now, they did not open up tokens, and they are there, they're trying and trying. And with a lot of organizations, they are using Africa and using the African sources, and they say they are a United Nations, they will help, they will do, and they never do. You think the token and cryptocurrency and blockchain will help African entrepreneurs? Is Africa ready for that? The government open the license, until now there is no license for that activity. What is the future? And I am with cryptocurrency, with the transparency. Your presentation is amazing. The future is that token. But when? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ecosystem to create our own value. What that means is that if every SME or small organization is able to understand what we call token economics, and then they are able to create a small niche in their own business, which is actually running in their own ecosystem as utility, no government will come to ask you that, because it's a utility asset that you are actually offering. The only thing there is that there's intellectual property in terms of understanding token economics and how to be able to integrate it. So we are saying and challenging every player in the space to look at what you have and then do what? Tokenize and offer back, give back. Now, the government are not interested in tokens you give for free. So what we are doing is that we're actually giving you free tokens. So you didn't buy it. When you buy a sanitary pad, I say, take, I dash you. But I've also been able to create another value around it, that in the international market, this particular token is now open globally. So you have earned it for free, but then, because of the token economics that's actually used in this design, the business is in demand of that same token. So at the end of the day, it's a win-win situation. So that's the angle we are coming from. Until when the government, then there are some nations that or countries that are also very flexible. So you need to look at where you are coming from and the country that is actually very flexible with that. Yes.
No one until now allowed blockchain and cryptocurrency license, and if you can prove, and that is a lobby.
And feed them children. You think that Satoshi, 1 Bitcoins, it will help them? How they will monetize that? We need first to put the education of that system to the people, to let them know what it is. A lot of people, they don't understand. Even I attend a lot of summit for blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Until now, system not clear. So we have to clarify that one. I know you're fighting. What you're doing is fantastic. But let's make it with everyone, not with certain people. I say one day I say, I am blockchain. Because even on person now, they are using us as blockchain. Everybody try to monetize something, somehow. So 1 Bitcoin can make a difference with a lot of people in Africa which they need help. I know you're fighting to help and support those people with your system, and you're looking for transparency.
Yes.
But why we did not start with the trade in gold? The gold and mining in Africa have a lot of mining. Why we don't use that blockchain first for the big economy to make it sustainable, and then we go to the small economy?
Thank you for that. The truth is, like I said, it is on that note that we have decided to work within what we have our control, which is our own ecosystem. On that, let us start. So that's where we're starting from. So we are not waiting for the government, we are starting from our own. That's why we said sanitary pad is my company. I produce the sanitary pad for ladies, and I'm saying every woman experience menstruation. Buy my sanitary and take the token. Food, what you eat, buy my food, take the token. When you talk about our marketplace where you can advertise, create awareness about your own product, take the token. So in that way, we are creating within our ecosystem, not waiting for the government. And that has been the problem. Everyone is waiting for the government, and the government is not moving at the pace we want to move. We can also talk about, if we have United Nations, we are looking out for opportunities to be able to educate such kind of systems, where we come and train and then let them see that it is not from a negative point of view that the application of this. Let them look at it from a positive point of view. When you talk about money laundering, even fiat money is being laundered. But now you're not talking about what? Digital asset. So the point is, each and every one of us in Africa, are you an educationist? We are saying contribute. Are you in tourism? We are saying contribute. Now, Simple Merchant is saying, how can we put this entire ecosystem together? We are saying to you, that's your business. Give discount and cash back. Let us handle your loyalty system for you. And in that way, we are actually creating a bigger picture. And before you know what's happening, we have actually been able to create so much awareness that people now know about this particular asset.
Okay. Thank you. Heavily about blockchain technology. Though I have two technology that I use for project management, known as ResearchSwitch and Project Watch. Now, under my database, I have youth population above 2 million. The question is, I'm into real estate. I build houses for low-income Nigerians. And these low-income Nigerians do not really have a connection to technology. I build houses and I use cement, I use rod, I use local sand, and I use raw materials. How do I purchase this? With cryptocurrency.
Thank you very much. You have just made it fantastic. If you have up to 2 million youths, you are there of the low class. But that low class always go to ShopRite. That low class have a local store where he eats food. That low class wants to enter transportation. But that low class community that you are building them to own their own house. What we are saying is simple. Let us collaborate with you. See to it that all of them have access to a Simple Merchant reloadable card. Once they do that, first thing first is you begin to attract them. So we are saying automatically you become a merchant. So you are not telling the people that, look, we are going to give you, what's the name of your company? Domac. So we can actually have a customized DOMA card for your entire community. So what that means is that the DOMA community says, if you are using DOMA card to actually pay, you are going to get this incentive. If you are using that to either make payment or if you are using that to actually buy something from any other place, that community is not connected. Remember, you have a choice in terms of the discount and the cashback. So once this community now know that they are getting a card from DOMA that they can use not only in DOMA but across the entire merchant network that we have created, and we've created a synergy, then more individuals want to actually come in. So I see a perfect synergy in terms of what we can do and then create more opportunity. Now, even in terms of your own business, because you are offering a cashback and a discount, what it simply means is that the entire community that we are also building now have access to your own business to be able to patronize you in order for them to actually get a cashback and discount. So it's a synergy at the end of the day. So possibly we could actually see how we can actually make that more possible.
About one coin.
Yes.
This person has invested over 10 million euros.
Yes.
It is taking us God knows how many years. So I was just thinking, I like your presentation. Is there another way that you can channel the same energy, effort about digital systems in reaching out to the youth where they can benefit? Because for some of us where we sit and what we've seen with cryptocurrency, it's not just the education, but we want more practical aspects. And the more, most of the governments in Africa reject this almost every now and then. What exactly will you do in your capacity to help the youth not necessarily using cryptocurrency?
Well, what's the cap of this? We have gone to the list. Yes, conferences, take for example, creating ambassadors among the universities is one of the key starting points. Where you create ambassadors that are educated. Our youth market are so smart that it will challenge you to know that the level of research that these youths have gone with regards to understanding this technology, you'll be amazed to what they have done. Because the economy is not funny. Let me take an example of Nigeria. Look at some of the things that is happening. The fallback is understanding that I can actually buy and then I can actually sell. I can actually convert. That's what they know. But we are saying that we need collaboration. Do you have access to the youth market? Do you have access to these institutions? Do you have access to NYSC? Do you have access to those working in the ministry? Reach out to us. Let us provide that education. But when you are teaching someone about something that he cannot feel, he does not understand. So that is why big magnets have made it realistic. And how is that? When you come in to a woman who normally experiences menstruation, all we are saying to the woman, Madam, there's this sanitary pad that you buy. You normally buy sanitary pad. Say, here they buy this one, but we will give you small token as benefit. Just they buy our sanitary pad, and you will be getting it. That is all. It is practical to the woman. The woman has collected the sanitary pad and is using the sanitary pad, but he knows that he's also getting a token, which in the next 3-4 years, he now begin to say, that thing, mama, that thing that you have in your wallet, see what it is. That is practical for that particular individual to understand. Or we also tell that person that same token you have gotten, bring it back. You can take it to collect more sanitary pad from us. That is practical for that individual to understand. So education requires collaboration, and we're already doing that. Conferences are being held, summits are being held, youth markets are being educated in terms of breaking it down so that we can be practical in its application and adoption.
On the issue of education, it is very easy for us to talk to the youth, especially from where I come from. But now, how are we going to go about it? That's the first issue. Now, the second issue is looking at the energy problem of Africa, especially Cameroon, where I come from, and looking at cryptocurrency, is this what the internet connection and which role into energy, how effective is it going to be? Thank you.
Thank you very much. University will just tell you that the student union government is structured. SUG, departmental, faculty, class reps. It's simple. Let's get all the SUG executives together for a roundtable meeting and then we discuss. Educate them and train them. SUG move down to the faculty heads in all the departments. Call for a seminar and we impact value to them. Now, why would the youth market be interested in it? Now, let me tell you why. Because we thought about the youth market and we created a solution for that. Now, this card that you have, imagine a situation whereby we come to your school and we want everybody in that school or student to have access to this card. That means when the SUG actually come on board with this card and they pass it to the faculty, what has happened is that whenever this faculty president or community use this card and get cashback or discount, a particular percentage go back to the SUG. The youth market is very much interested in that. So what that means is that if I had the advocacy to tell other individuals about this card, I would actually be connected to them, that whatever discount and cashback they enjoy in anywhere in the world, I would get a percentage to go back to that same merchant that gave that discount and pick items for free. That is the technology that Big Magnet International Group have designed. And that can be broken down. When you talk about energy, the point there is that we all use mobile phones. So what you actually need is actually a mobile phone. And I think with the least internet connection, you can. This card actually uses a very soft technology because it's QR code that you use. So even if it's 1 MB, you can actually scan it and transaction can actually go at the end of the day. So that's it. So we want to know more about your community. We want to work closely with you. Come to Cameroon and develop. Now, on the student community, this is what we will do when we come. All we need is to go to the school and look at the businesses where students patronize them. Call for a meeting for these particular people, and after that, we would now actually set them up as merchants. So when you are telling the students that this card, you can go to this place to actually get a cashback and a discount, he quickly come on board on the particular system. So that is actually a formula that we've actually developed and is working. On this note, I want to really appreciate and I want to call the following persons to actually hand over this. Okay. All right.
Hello, this is Dr. Hala Miawi. In fact, I've been recently very much interested in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency of royalty, providing royalty or a kind of digital marketing for products, right? Through this card you are introducing.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there are two questions in fact. The royalties you are providing, is it connected globally or to certain facilities in Africa only? Does it have any credibility or linkage to the central bank anywhere in the world, or is it only digital? The second thing, your project you are proposing now, does it have any kind of linkage to sustainable projects in Africa? Do you intend to use this to provide or support, some humanitarian efforts in Africa? Because I believe that at this time, in the post-COVID era, we need to link all our efforts, all our projects to certain criteria of humanitarian efforts, whether in Africa, in India, or in other parts of the world that will, of course, sustain our existence. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that fantastic question. A non-governmental organization, part of the CSR of Big Magnet Group, focused on female or the women gender. The goal is that since we actually have sanitary pad, we've been able to create an integrated model that for every sanitary pad that goes out from our system, a particular percentage is dedicated to giving back to the girl child. This girl child are individuals who do not have the capacity to use sanitary pads. Some of them, if you go to the rural areas, some of them actually use paper. Some of them use so many things. We are interested in that. And that is why we have organized different programs in rural communities to actually give back to the community. So that handles the aspect of giving back to the society. Now, with regards to credibility, like I said, what we are giving or what we are reaching out to organizations. Take for example, when we approach a merchant, we are only saying to the merchant that you already have your product and your service, but let us actually bring the community to you. So that percentage you are offering is from the merchant. You already have that, but you're actually using our system for us to connect our users to you. So that's the aspect. So the credibility aspect of that in terms of integration, technology, the community, all of that has actually been handled. And that's why we're actually growing. I think on that note, that's one of the things we have done to prove a point that with experience, you will begin to see the benefit. Leaders Without Borders is taking that bold step. And that is why one of the reasons why we are here is that let us use a fora to actually come together. We are here because of Leaders Without Borders, and they are saying, let us come together. And together, we would actually contribute positively, not only in Africa, but globally, using the blockchain technology. Thank you very much. Before I leave the stage, I'm going to actually offer this. So camera, this card is actually available, and we're going to be calling the person of Dr. Hillary to have yours. Dr. Eno, please come forward. This actually flagged up this particular integration, and with this QR code system, we are saying that we're going to take this to the next level. And then we're also going to call on the person of Dr. Theophilus. Are you there? Please come forward. This marks the opening of this particular reloadable gift card, simple merchant, and then we are saying we are open to collaborate. So if you have a business, let's talk. If you want to actually connect to the youth market, let's talk. And many more. So but before I go, when I say big magnet, I want everybody to tell me matching technology with innovation. Can we try that? Big magnet. When I say matching technology with innovation, you say what? Big magnet. Big magnet. Matching technology with innovation. Big magnet. Thank you very much. So we want to, please, let's come down. So on behalf of Leaders Without Borders and Big Magnet International Group, we want to actually issue you this card, Dr. Hillary. So congratulations and thanks for this particular partnership to open up the African market, integrating blockchain technology supported by cashback and discounts. It's a privilege to work with your brand. Thank you very much. Dr. Eno, please. Congratulations. Thank you very much for this opportunity to work with your team and the brand. And we want this to be an access point to touch the youth market and then to bring value to Africa. Thank you very much. And then Dr. Theophilus, another wonderful person. We want to thank you for coming and want to give you access to this. And let's use this to add value to Africa. Thank you very much.
First of all, thank you for that very, very wonderful presentation. I'm sure if we want to allow you, the questions will not end. Unfortunately, we still have one panel section and some other presentation. But thank you very much. That was very wonderful. I hope we'll have some more time to listen to you. So you've asked me to present to me. Okay. I see you have a LW logo. We want more of it for our partners. So on behalf of the Leaders Without Borders Development Center, I present this card to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Before you is, we're talking about mergers and some of the positive things that happened with mergers and some of the not so positive things. And what would be your major concern if you want to go into cross-border partnerships and mergers? We will start with our first panelist here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mergers and what concerns if you want to go cross borders, right? There's a lot of factors to consider. for multinational that wants to go across borders. And one of the things you have to consider is first the country you're going to, how solid are the rule of law? Very important, because without solid rule of law, you will have a tough time to protect your interests. The other thing is also regulations, because rule of law is one thing, but regulations that are already in place. I find myself fighting with certain country when I see that local people have to own a certain percentage of the local company when I'm trying to bring all the money, so I'm risking all the money to come in and help you, but I've got to give you 50% or I've got to give you 45%. So some of those regulations need to be looked into to make sure that the regulation in place will favor the national on one side, but it has to be a win-win situation, but we have to consider more also the company putting up the risk. So those are at least two concerns that right off the top of my head I can talk about.
Right, that's good, that's good. If our other panelists would please join us in the discussion. What would be your major concern if you want to go into cross-border partnerships and mergers?
Okay.
So first of all, measures cross borders, there's a high risk. We should know this right now. Many are not interested in because you think about staff retention. People think that you're going to lose their jobs and all. But as far as I'm concerned, you need to check the political stability of the two countries. Or if let's say the two countries from two companies from two countries. Like my brother said, if the political condition of a particular country is not conducive, you cannot even go ahead to do what you want to do. That's one of the things we should think about. And then sometimes we have gap in communication. You may come from a French-speaking country, I'm coming from an English-speaking country, and that becomes a problem. Or even the cultural differences, sometimes bring these concerns to mind.
Right. Ambassador Gilliaid.
For me, I would look at this subject from the perspective of both organizations, because most times when we talk about merger, we are looking at it from a cross-border perspective. And that cross-border perspective will be looking at maybe the company that is actually bringing in the fund is from a higher nation, so to say, while the company that is receiving it is from a local perspective. Now, the main concern is what is the clear vision for the company that wants to acquire and the company that wants to merge. If there is no clear vision with regards to that, that's a big challenge. So my concern first, even if I want to acquire or merge with the company, is to see whether they already have a vision to merge and they have seen value in this merger. Right. That's my point.
Thank you so much for that. And being that you're talking about vision and if things match when there comes into a merger, we realized that from Daimler and Chrysler merger, it fell apart in 2007. Cross-culture conflicts played a major role in its failure. How does cultural diversity play into cross-border partnerships? What are the recommended ways to resolve those issues arising from cultural diversity and such partnerships to ensure cultural integration? The first person wanted to take that.
Well, one thing I want to say about culture, the diversity have to be resolved in a simple way. I'll just give you an example. One point I'm speaking to one of the retired general of the U.S. Army, and we were discussing about a road project they had in Africa. They were stationed in Africa. And they wanted to build a road that's going to go across 9 villages. So they brought in all the engineers to do the study, and they were ready to build the road, and he just had to sign off. But they spent about 6 months of working, planning, and all that stuff, but now it's time for the general to sign for them to build the road. So the question he asked them was, how many villages this road is going to go through? They said 9 villages. He said, how many people have you spoken to in those villages? They said 0. He said, no, go back and talk to the villagers and let them tell you where they want the road. Because that's what resolve diversity in cross-culture and different culture. When you're coming in a country to invest, you have 2 different cultures.
Right.
You first have to speak to the one you're coming into. It's like you walk into my home, find out what are the rules and regulations in my home first. And usually that resolves a lot of issues. I think that's the biggest way to resolve, is a clear discussion from the beginning.
Yes, for each party to be in agreement with what's going on the agenda. Okay, we can hear your perspective on this.
Well, first of all, measure is a strategic decision taken by the two people or 2 organizations, and therefore they can only agree to disagree. Now, from the very onset of the contract, and I'll give a typical example between Ghana and Ouagadougou or Burkina Faso. We have a railway line now from Ghana all the way to that side. They are a French-speaking country. We are English-speaking country. So what the government did was to send most of our people in business from the Ministry of Trade who can speak the language properly, who understand every terms and condition. They sent them there to do a market research, just to get things right.
Yes.
Because it's important for us to have it from the onset, the very time when we start, before, because you can't proceed when you don't understand. So that's what we did. A group was sent to Burkina Faso. They had a market research. They realized that most of Ghanaians, some sectors of Ghanaians can also speak French. So why don't we communicate a lot of the terms in the contract in French? You understand? So that is how we approach it, and I just wanted to share this example with you.
Great.
Yeah.
That was great. Thank you, Ambassador.
I want to say, with regards to cultural difference, it's important for validation of data. Because when this data is actually validated, then you can actually know how to actually play. During this particular process, it's important for the organization to have what we call the risk matrix. The risk matrix is like a scoreboard whereby you begin to check. Now, you should be able to say, if it crosses this threshold, we will not do. If it is scaled through it, we would. And then part of the things that would come into context is with regards to language, like we said, communication. We must also understand that management too is also very key, because from where you are coming from, you want to actually acquire a new organization. What is the management practice from where you are coming from? Is this something that can easily be infused into this particular new startup that you want to actually acquire? These are things that need to be looked at critically in order for you to actually succeed.
Yes.
We must understand that when mergers happen, something is transferred. And that was why I said earlier, there must be an aligning vision. That aligning vision on both parties will be able to allow if it will actually go. Now, a typical example beyond the illustration you made is in Nigeria, Paystack. Paystack was actually acquired by Stripe from the United States of America. In fact, for close to about $200 million. Now, if you critically look at that case study about Paystack and look at that of Stripe, you discover that there was singleness of purpose. Why? Because Paystack wanted to expand their API and they did not have the capacity. Stripe wanted to conquer Africa, and Paystack is in Africa and they're already doing well in terms of build up. So both organizations had a meeting point for them to merge. And eventually it went through. As we speak, Paystack actually extended to South Africa and they are doing so many underground work. So both cultural difference was factored in. Stripe was an American company. Nigeria, there's similarity. Take for example, formality that we're talking about. So formality in management practice, because one of the things I discovered from the Paystack developers is that if you go to their office, they are not always the people that wear suits. You see them wearing jeans and shirts, but they are developers. The Americans too, baggy jeans and shirts. It works, and that will not be a management process. So that cultural difference must align. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for that. So in other words, you have to be definitely in agreement and alignment and cooperate with one another for it to be a successful partnership and merger. Thank you. Considering that a merger is a form of legal consolidation of two companies which are formed in a single entity, and also bearing in mind that for cross-border mergers, the individual entities exist in different legal frameworks, how is the best way of this seeming dilemma to be resolved? Yes, absolutely.
So the dilemma in merger, you have two companies, just like you said, that you're going to bring into one company. In most cases, one company brings more on the table than the others. But you got cases where they both bring equal shareholding. Now, when you're setting up the new company and you're setting up also the shareholding structure, you have to have a clear outline of what's the objective of that new company, because that's what's going to determine ultimately the right form of company to form, whether if it's going to be a corporation, a limited corporation, depending on what country and what the laws, but how far this company is going to go. Now, that's to me very, very important. Now, when you go into certain countries in Africa and you're doing a merger and acquisition, depending on the product, depending on the services, they require you to have what we call a corporation. In some countries, especially French-speaking countries, when you have a corporation now, you have government that have the ability to look into that company. And not everybody is okay with that. So I think based on that, governments have to step back and let and allow the private sector to set up what works for them, not necessarily what works for the government. Okay, and I think for me that would be the solution.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe that that's a great answer as well, because many times this is the decision factor and who's going to be the lead business in this merger acquisition. Okay, will you take the next panelist with this question?
Well, I was not really going to speak because he just said, depending on the country where you come from, like you said, we have limited liability, we have incorporation. So if, for instance, the government, and you know how it is, we have in Africa, I'll speak for my country, we have the regulations there, and the regulations work. It doesn't matter who is in power, doesn't matter there's a change, we stick to the same regulations. So based on the regulations each entity have, for us we have the Ministry of Business Development now and the Ministry of Trade that actually takes care of it. Depending on the kind of measure, most of the time if it's cross-border, let's say somebody from outside and the person to bond or to have a business with a Ghanaian, what it means is that the Ghanaian may have a higher benefit
because that's you're coming from wherever you're coming into. That is one aspect. We have the other aspect where they can do the incorporation. You can have both 50-50. Yeah. So sometimes it depends on the country where you are coming from, and also what you're also bringing in, from both parties.
Yes, thank you so much, Ambassador.
Well, I just want to speak from the perspective of employment regulation, because each country actually has its employment rules. Now, when this merger is actually happening, these must be factored in terms of, because most times, maybe the company that is actually acquiring wants to displace some individuals who are already in that particular organization. So at that point, both companies need to really look at what is the legal implication of that. Then two, we are also looking at contractor laws too, need to also be considered. Then we also look at the issue of taxation. Taxation is also another issue. Is it that they're going to be double taxation? The tax in America, the tax in Nigeria, or tax in Africa? So you look at that. How can you reconcile taxation? There are provisions that will do that reconciliation. Or in terms of that, these are also factors that will be considered. Then finally, there are some government that talks about escrow. You get it in terms of minimum funds that must be before you can actually operate. All of these are legal consideration that should be factored by both entities before they can actually want to proceed.
Awesome, thank you so much. The next question and final question, then we're going to open it up for some questions. The failure rate of cross-border mergers and acquisitions is said to be between 70% to 90% by some estimates, and many conservative estimates put it at 50%. Many of the reasons this is because of the revolving around the corporate culture differences. Alluring as the benefits of mergers may seem its term of growth expansion into other geographic regions, do you think mergers are viable growth strategies to adopt companies that want to do business in other countries? Or do you think this is a risk that outweighs the benefit, or is it too risky of a venture to even consider the factors?
Well, mergers are risky.
Yes.
Very risky. And personally, I don't like mergers if we're not in a sound country where the laws will protect it. I'm going to give you an example. There is an airline company in one of the countries that I'm working with that is going under. And there is over thousands of employees that are about to lose their job. But the company itself is not solvable.
Yes.
So today, they're coming out with, they're calling on us to put money in that company to bail them out. Now, we can bail them out as merger or acquisition. Neither one works because we're merging or acquiring a company that's already hundreds of millions of dollars in debt.
In debt, yes.
So the assets do not outweigh the debts. So in that case, a merger is not beneficial. So personally, I would just sit back. If the government is not okay to go ahead and set up a completely new company, set up a completely new license, and take over all the employee transfer from one company to another, is not beneficial for us to come in and from day one in business, we have hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. It doesn't make any sense. So in that case, merger is not feasible.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
that. Sometimes you have to look out for certain evaluations. I mean, why are you even going in for the measure, the first thing? And then you have to check whether the company you're going to merge with is viable. If it's not viable, you don't even take a step. But like my brother is saying, sometimes the risk where measures are too high, and therefore you need to do a thorough work, a thorough market research to know exactly what you're about before you go in. And if you're not happy, nobody forces you to go in for such a measure. You wouldn't die if you go in for partnership. That's it.
Thank you so much, Ambassador.
Due diligence is key for the company that is actually worth acquiring. And sometimes we must recognize that organization that is seeking a merger rely so much on data. So they talk about evaluation. Now, we have come to terms with the fact that most organizations that seek merger clean up the books. That's what they call it. They clean up the books. And cleaning up the books means presenting those things that will interest the acquiring organization. So the point is, if you want to acquire an organization to merge, you should not just look at it from the top surface. You need to go deep down and then use on the ground to really find out some information. Within the fintech space, there is something that is easy for evaluation, and that is, the first thing that they ask is, what is your database? That database is money. And once an organization that wants to acquire, look at and evaluate the database you have, he can use that to do his projection, whether he can venture or whether he's not going to go into that.
In fact, I'm short of words. I never expected this coming. But I want to say on behalf of Big Magnet International Group, and then to appreciate the entire management team of Leaders Without Borders to have made this possible. Indeed, it is exciting to actually see things we do in Africa being recognized globally. Thank you for this particular opportunity, and we'll keep doing our best.